Hi and welcome. You've stepped inside Lady Miniac's Wonderland, a place of escape. In this tiny whimsical world, I create 12th scale medieval treasures. Today I'm creating mini manuscripts, and in part 1 I explain how to make the basic mini book. This video has a link to free book printables, and using these we'll create 18 tiny books that are just as captivating and full of magic as the real thing. These little treasures are completely functional, with double-sided pages and gilded edges. In part 2, I decorate and turn these little books into medieval manuscripts. Some have gold leaf and tiny gems, others have functional clasps and mini chains, all providing delight and complete enchantment. So, let's create some mini books. The printing instructions are at the top of each downloadable page. Print 1 copy of the book covers on cardboard or cardstock, and print 2 copies of the mini end papers on standard printer paper. You can use either an inkjet or laser printer to print these files. My own printer was acting up, so I printed mine at a specialist stationery shop. The printer paper you see in this video is of a slightly better quality and shine, but using standard printer paper is fine for this project. Print 16 double-sided copies of the book pages. Page 1 and 2 are identical and print back to back perfectly, creating the book's double-sided pages. If your printer has the 2-to-1 page print function, you can print both pages. If it doesn't, then simply print 16 copies of page 1, turn them over inside the printer tray to face the desired way, and print another 16 copies of page 1 on the back of those pages. Before cutting, spray the book covers with a single coat of clear aerosol lacquer to seal and protect them. Adding another coat would only prevent a paper trimmer from making clean and crisp cuts. Once the sealer has dried, you can begin to cut out these tiny squares vertically and horizontally. If you have time and patience, you can use standard scissors. I'm using a paper trimmer as the cuts are more accurate and of course quicker. There are 3 book covers on each row. As you cut vertically, try not to mistakenly cut any of them in half. When using a trimmer, it's much easier to cut out these printables if there aren't wide gaps between them. In this way, each slice cuts 2 sides. When you finish cutting out the book covers, put them aside for later. There are 36 end papers in total. Each mini book requires a matching set of 2. These end papers will be lining the inside of the front and back book covers. Detail is everything in miniature making, and these little papers certainly give a beautiful and realistic finish when opening and closing the books. Set them aside for later. Try to cut each book page accurately on the dividing line so that your end result looks crisp and neat. These printables provide each book with 43 mini pages. There are over 700 book pages to cut out, so you save a lot of effort by stacking 4 or 5 layers at the same time. Make sure these hundreds of little pages face right way up as you cut and place them aside, as it becomes almost impossible to resort them later. We definitely do not want to find any upside down pages in our finished mini books. We are going to turn these flat cardboard squares into truly magical book covers. You'll need a ballpoint stylus and a ruler. To enable the book covers to bend nicely, we have to create fold lines. Pressing relatively hard, I'm using the rounded stylus and ruler to create a fold along either side of the book spine. This defines the edges of the spine and will also show us where to glue the end papers later. Gently bend the book cover along the 2 folds that you've created. You'll notice that as the paper bends, the white cardboard cracks and shows through the printed color. Don't worry about that because we'll fix it later. The folds should center the book spine, thus making the back and front covers match in length. Our little squares are now beginning to take shape and look interesting. As with every video project, there are plenty of bloopers. I use a kebab stick or bamboo skewer to create the rounded shape of the book spine. With your finger, hold the spine on the skewer and gently bend the straight edges around it. Roll it back and forth over the skewer a few times. This produces the charming curved effect that is so characteristic in ancient books. Our little squares are transforming quickly and looking more and more like magical mini books. Next, we bind the loose book pages to create text blocks. For these medieval manuscripts, I find that it's nice to have an illumination or illustration as the first page of the book. This page must be glued facing inwards, so that when the book is opened, it's on the left page. At the back of the book, I prefer to have a plain text page. I find that about 43 pages create a good thickness for these books. As I've mentioned previously, ensure that all the pages face right way up before gluing them. I hold the pages together with 2 binder clips to apply the glue along the spine. You can use Aleene's super thick glue as well as any PVA, clear drying, all-purpose craft glue. I apply the glue generously along the spine and spread it evenly with a paintbrush. I also dab a tiny amount at the top and bottom of the spine. This little detail helps secure the pages even more. It's really worth paying a little more attention to this step. To ensure that the book pages bind securely, check that they are well aligned and flush along the spine before you glue them. This will prevent any from falling out of the book when handled later on. Dilute a little dark brown acrylic paint with 1 or 2 drops or spray of water. Paint the inside border of the book covers to prevent the white cardboard from showing later on when we attach the end papers. We are now tidying up the book covers and attending to any irregularities. Paint all around the cut edges to hide any white cardboard that shows through. Paint over any white cracks that may have appeared along the spine when we folded the covers earlier on. The brown paint seeps into these cracks and darkens them, adding their charming aged look. These little touches make all the difference to the final product. Brown acrylic paint is very versatile and works well for all the book covers. You can see how nicely it blends in with the red as well as the green covers. Our little books are gaining magic and transforming at a steady pace. Put the book covers aside and let them dry. To define and accentuate our book spines, we're going to use a piece of half-round plastic with a flat back and rounded top, giving the spine its characteristic shape. Holding the strip along the spine, measure and mark the desired length. I use a 3.2 millimeter width half-round for these mini books. Without this little strip, I find that the spines easily lose their definition and rounded shape. Cut the marked strip with a pair of side cutters. Both ends of the strip will show on the completed book, so they need to be neat and flat. I use a standard nail file to file them straight. Next, we use craft glue to attach the strip to the book spine, pressing gently and making sure that it's nicely centered. The strips should never extend over the book spines, so make sure that everyone fits well. Check that all the spines look good from all angles. When finished, let them dry overnight. Once the spines have dried, we get to paint the page edges with gold paint. We need to press the pages together as tightly as possible when painting, so that we avoid paint seeping in between the pages and sticking them together. I use 4 mini multi-purpose clips for this. We begin by painting the top and bottom page edges of the book. Make sure that you also paint both ends of the half-round strip that we glued to the spine. I use metallic gold acrylic craft paint. Don't worry if you get paint all over the front and back pages, as these will be covered by the end papers later on. When the first 2 sides of the book have been painted, turn the clips so that the book's foredge is accessible. This is the page edge opposite to the spine. Proceed to paint it like the other 2 sides. Remember that it's not necessary to be heavy-handed with the gold paint, as this causes excessive sticking together of the pages. It's wonderful to see the books turning gold and getting a life of their own. The gold edges give our little books a wonderfully ancient feel, as they create the effect of priceless gilded volumes. Once the paint has dried, comes what for me is the most fun and addictive stage of all: separating the gold pages that have stuck together. I know it seems crazy, but I find it completely mesmerizing and relaxing to slide open these pages. I use the tips of a straight, fine-tipped tweezer to get between them. Be gentle when you're separating these tiny pages. If there's any roughness or damage to any page because of the paint or from separating, it'll only add to the aged look of the book. The effect of using gold acrylic paint on the page edges is definitely worth the trouble of having to do this step. If you don't want to have any stuck pages, you can choose gold metallic wax to gild your page edges. Although the wax doesn't gleam as much as the acrylic paint, it still gives a lovely effect. You can also use this gold wax to cover any irregularities that might have presented themselves. The end papers must be sorted in matching pairs. Each mini book requires a set of 2. As we did with the book covers, paint the cut edges with diluted brown acrylic paint to cover any white paper. For each set, cut a small strip, approximately 5 mm wide, from either one of the 2 end papers. I've made provision for this in the width of the paper. This doesn't have to be meticulous, as we are only using a tiny area of it. Fold the strip in half and cut in 2. Apply craft glue to the piece and glue it to the inside of the book cover. These pieces must cover the top and bottom edge of the book spine. Do the same with the other piece. These tiny strips will hide the white cardboard gaps of the spine and will be an exact match with the end papers. This small detail has a huge effect on the accurate appearance of the inner book. The end papers are created to fit comfortably inside the front and back book covers. Apply glue to only one side of the cover and go no further than the fold line. Spread the glue evenly with the brush. Then attach the first end paper and press nicely in place. Wipe away any excess glue. Fold the paper over and press it down along the fold line of the spine. You are now ready to attach your first block of pages. If your book cover is one directional, make sure that the block is facing the right way. Center the page spine on the cover spine and close the book cover around it. Align the page block so that it fits snugly inside the book cover. Still holding it in place, apply glue onto the book page, not the end page. Spread it evenly with a brush while still holding the page block in place. When you're happy that the block is in the right position, close the book cover and press it firmly. Don't worry that the end paper sticks out past the pages. We will deal with that later. Your book pages are now almost fully attached. In the same way, we attach the end paper to the other side. Apply the glue to the book cover and spread the glue evenly with a brush up to the fold line. Attach the end paper and press down firmly. Fold the paper over and press down along the spine's fold line. As before, apply the glue to the book page, not the end paper. This prevents getting glue everywhere. Spread it evenly and then simply close the book cover. Et voila! In your hand you have your first perfectly bound mini book. Take a few moments to sit back and admire it with pride. Now we need to trim the excess end papers with a sharp pair of micro scissors. The two foredges are simple enough to snip. The top and bottom need a little more care as you cut close to the spine. Trim the end paper diagonally where the page and spine join. Note how good the spine ends look now. It was worth taking a little extra trouble to hide them. And we're at the final step. We've handled the little books a lot, and we've also trimmed the first and last pages when we attached the end papers. We now need to touch up wherever necessary with metallic gold wax. Take the time to carefully examine each little book. Apply those important final touches that make all the difference. The end papers have also been trimmed, so touch them up with diluted brown acrylic paint wherever it's needed. Well done on creating tiny replicas of the real thing. These lovely mini books are so enchanting. They promise to be full of secrets and magic. Place a weight on them overnight so they can lie flat. Enjoy your lovely mini books. If you want to proceed to turn them into medieval manuscripts, join me for part 2, where we can embellish them together. Till then,